2022 에듀테크 코리아 포럼 오늘 첫날이죠. 새로운 교육으로의 발걸음 디지털 플랫폼으로라는 주제를 가지고 이야기를 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. 여러분 유익한 시간 되고 계시죠? 오늘 오전 트랙 A1부터 지금 4까지 왔는데요. 함께하고 계신 여러분 다시 한번 감사의 말씀을 드리겠습니다. 제가 비록 이 스튜디오에서 조금은 외롭게 진행을 하고 있지만 댓글창에 남겨주신 여러분의 의견, 이런 피드백을 보면서 정말 그 열정이 온라인을 통해서 여기까지 느껴지는 것 같습니다. 감사합니다. 이 트랙 A 네 번째 세션은요. 세계는 하나로 이러닝으로 함께 이러닝 세계와 ODA를 주제로 네 분의 발표와 Q&A 시간이 준비되어 있습니다. 첫째 날 이제 마지막 세션이고요. 하지만 앞서 말씀드린 것처럼 이번 세션 끝나고 잠시 쉬었다가 기조 연설이 준비되어 있습니다. 여러분 끝까지 함께해 주십시오. 자, 우리나라가 산업화와 민주화의 시기를 겪어오면서 지속적으로 성장하고 발전할 수 있었던 근간에는 항상 교육이 있었기 때문입니다. 우리 교육부는 디지털과 교육의 선도 국가로서 이러한 교육의 성공 경험과 노하우를 세계 각국에 공유하고 지원하는 사업을 지속적으로 추진하고 있는데요. 이번 시간에는 저희가 이러한 이러닝 세계와 ODA, 이 공적 개발 원조 사업이 바로 그 노력의 일환으로 한번 소개를 해볼까 합니다. 글로벌 지식 격차를 해소하고 포용적이고 지속 가능한 교육을 실천하기 위해 교육부가 어떠한 사업을 추진하고 있는지 이번 세션을 통해서 함께 알아보도록 하겠습니다. 이번 세션은 네 분의 연사가 준비를 하고 있습니다. 첫 번째 발표로는 네팔 교육과학기술부의 교육과정개발센터 디렉터로 계시는
Babu Ram Dhungana from the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology from Nepal. And the second speaker is representing the Ministry of National Education of Republic of Colombia. We have Jeronima, Sandino. Also, we have Miss Betty Buitrago from the Ministry of National Education from the Republic of Colombia. Last but not least, we also have Mr. Jang Ji-hoon, a teacher from Gwangju Pinyol Elementary School, who's here on site. Now, I'd like to ask Mr. Babu Ram Dhungana to present his talk. He is currently working as the director from the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, Nepal. He's going to give us a talk on the topic of learning together or the COVID-19 challenges and opportunities in education for ICT in Nepal. And he's going to share with us the blueprint that the Nepalese government prepared for the future. He was born in 1968 in Sindupachok, Bagmati province. He's an educational manager working under the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, playing various roles in district, provincial, and central level agencies. He also has a lot of teaching experience in schools and universities. In addition to the general educational management background, he also performed facilitating teacher training, ICT, and many other areas for school curriculum. So, Mr. Babu Ram Dhungana, after the video, you can start your presentation, or you can start your presentation right away.
Thank you so much for calling me. Can you hear me?
Well, yes.
Okay. Thank you. 반갑습니다.
So hello everyone. My name is Babu Ram Dhungana.
지금 저는 네팔 교육부에서 발표하고 있습니다.
I am currently working as a director from the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology.
Distinguished delegates of this seminar, representatives from the Ministry of Education Korea, the organizer of the Korea Digital Education Frontier Association KEFA, representatives from the UNESCO Institute of Lifelong Learning and UNESCO Asia and Pacific Regional Bureau for Education, Korea Education and Research Information Service KERIS, all the participants in the forum. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to you all. I already told you that I am Babu Ram Dhungana, speaking from the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. especially I'm responsible in the curriculum development of school level. At this moment, I would like to thank KEFA, the organizer of this virtual forum, with the theme into the next phase of education through digital platforms, for inviting me to share my views with you. Around the ground of e-learning, my views will be on the opportunities and challenges to address COVID-19 in education in my global national perspectives. I'm not making my presentation longer. It will be limited on national policy on ICT in education, use of ICT in school curriculum. Similarly, school education during COVID-19 pandemic, and finally, the contribution of ICT integrated pilot classroom project. Now, I would like to highlight the contribution of the Korean government in the name of ICT integrated pilot classroom project in Nepal. It was very successful. In 2013, the Ministry of Education developed a 5-year ICT master plan for education in the initiation of UNESCO, aiming at the following 4 objectives: to expand equitable access to education, to enhance the quality of education, to reduce the digital divide, and to improve the service delivery system in education. The major components of this master plan were development of infrastructure, primary thing, including the connectivity, development of human resources, development of digital learning materials, and enhancement of education system with ICT. To implement the ICT master plan that I mentioned here in education, especially in school level education, our ministry incorporated it into its annual plan, annual 5-year plan, annual plan and programs and budgets, allocating some budgets. The Ministry of Education supported schools to develop ICT infrastructure with internet connectivity. ICT in education was chosen as a subject for teacher training. Teacher and school personnel were trained massively. ICT was initiated in the regular course of the school level curriculum. ICT tools were developed and ICT pedagogy was recommended accordingly. In educational institutions, office management was equipped with ICT and record-keeping systems were reformed. An integrated educational management information system, that is IEMIS, was also developed and applied effectively. In the school level curriculum, e-learning was introduced as a computer subject from grade 4. It was introduced as an optional subject at secondary level to teach those students who were interested in this subject in depth. In the case of Nepal, basic level education is grade 1 to 8 and secondary education is 9 to 12. It was introduced as an optional subject at secondary level to teach those students who were interested in this subject in depth. In many schools in urban areas, all the subjects are taught using ICT tools with multimedia. This is an increasing tendency. At the beginning, there was no prediction of serious COVID-19 effect in Nepal. When the effect spread rampantly all over the country, schools were closed with the lockdown of public and private places. Parents were surprised of seeing the discontinuation of their child's learning. It caused a lack of learning for all students in short term and a dropout effect in the long term. Educationists suggested the government to identify alternative modes of education to continue teaching and learning for the younger children, like other countries in the globe. ICT was identified as a possible medium of learning. To continue teaching and learning from a distance using ICT, teachers have to be prepared massively. There were several challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic period, like in other countries. The first challenge was usual learning was disturbed, and external examination, especially of grade 10 and grade 12, were obstructed. We were ready to conduct the examination, but it was obstructed. And at the same time, we did not have any plan what to do and how to do. The majority of school teachers were ICT illiterate. There was no consensus on common alternative learning modalities among the stakeholders. All schools were not equipped with ICT infrastructure. There was a huge demand of vaccines against COVID-19 in schools. I summarize the challenges at the beginning when we suffered from COVID-19 in Nepal. And then our effort is we divided our students according to their ability to access the education with the rigorous consultation among stakeholders, international experience, and the suggestions among the parents. Ministry of Education identified the 5 categories of students as having access to alternative learning modalities. First category was children without access to any alternative devices, learning modalities. Most of the children belong to the poor family. The second category was children with access to radio or FM. Majority of this category were residing in rural areas. Third category was children with access to a television. All of the children were having electricity facility. And fourth was children with access to a computer but without online connectivity. All of these children belong to this category, to the educated family. They belong to the educated family. And finally, the children with access to a device that connected with internet also. All of these students were residing in urban areas. Hence, we categorized students in this way and made the plan to continue our teaching and learning system in school education. And we also have to appreciate the private sector at that time. They also supported to the government and public. In the crisis of COVID-19 pandemic, the private sector has a great role in making devices and programs available on the market. Some of the corporate houses train the teachers on how to use technology in teaching with the help of virtual operations. The private sector also developed short educational packages for teaching and learning. This is the chart where I wanted to summarize you the challenges of e-learning in Nepal. It was taken from a paper. There are several challenges in promoting e-learning in Nepal. Challenges can be categorized by 3 phases: learner, institutions, and faculty members, that is teacher. For the effective implementation of e-learning, physical facilities such as good internet connection and electronic devices were fundamental. Because of the budget constraint, uneven geological territory of Nepal, and faulty foundations, students are having difficulties with admittance to the internet facilities. Individual devices for all the children to continue their learning through online resources is also challenging during the COVID-19 pandemic. The scarcity of daily living things like food and devices, everything, learning devices, and the fear of pandemic discouraged the children from coming to learn in concentration. It took a long time to identify the best way of continuing teaching and learning due to the lack of the amended ICT policy in education to address the emergency. I already mentioned that we had the ICT master plan, but it was not amended, it was not updated, and we did not consider the plan targeting to the situation of emergency. That was also the difficulty. And then teachers had inadequate technical knowledge to handle the online classes. Because of the lack of self-motivation and poor lesson plan design skills for online classes, they could not exhibit their performance satisfactorily. We provided devices, but they could not apply it properly. That was also the problem. And there were some opportunities also. Challenges gave us opportunities to improve our situation. Government tried several times to train the teachers, but teachers in a big number were trained during the crisis. Increasing internet facilities around the world itself taught people how to confront the challenges. Government of policy reform, regular budgeting for infrastructural support and capacity building, developing online-based courses, teacher training, time management with adaptation skills in new situation, and upgrading people with technological literacy are the opportunities learned after this crisis. I'm talking about the platforms we used during online class during COVID period in Nepal. Our government, international development partners, and private partners taught our teachers, administrators, and students to continue their meetings, webinars, and regular classes through Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, social media, for example, Facebook and Twitter. Except Zoom, other options were almost free. And there is an interesting event that was happened in 2017, a memorandum of understanding on building and managing an innovative information and communication technology based pilot classroom was signed between the Ministry of Education Korea and the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology of Nepal. At the beginning, KERIS supported the selected school to develop ICT capacity with several activities. I am also attached in this project from the beginning. After the COVID-19 pandemic, the Korean government assigned this project to handle for to IACE to further activities of this project. Government of Nepal, that is Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, selected one of the biggest school, that is Gyanodaya Secondary School, one of the largest school in Kathmandu, but poor ICT facilities. It was chosen to launch the ICT-based pilot classroom project. Before launching this project, there was a poor ICT classroom with a new desktop computers handled by a computer operator during that time. There was no power backup to operate the computer lab in the case of load shedding before launching this project. Now, the second picture is after launching the project. This is also, these two pictures are supported by this project. Students are learning, teachers are learning, parents are learning, teachers of all subjects are learning in this lab. Teacher trainings are conducting. The project supported the modern lab with enough devices and furniture to supply internet connectivity. It also managed power backup for the ICT lab. Project invited the head teacher of this school, teachers of this school in Korea, and trained. Several rounds of monitoring were conducted in a school after implementing this project. I was also involved in the activities of monitoring. Project invited the head, other teachers also, I already mentioned. Offline teacher training also conducted during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2021 and in 2022 with the reward of KEZU package for outstanding candidates. KEZU package was one of the handsome package. All teachers of Nepal appreciated this package. It was not for all participants of the training, but it was given to those candidates who were who performed their activities outstandingly. In this lab is being useful to all teachers. I already mentioned you, from lower grades to higher grades. All subjects are taught: language, science, mathematics, social studies, all the subjects as per their needs. Sometimes the lab is used as an ICT teacher training center for all the teachers of this school and the teachers from outside schools. Government as well as other schools also use this lab to talk about the issue of ICT. We need to work collaboratively, that is a collaboration between public and private partnership, collaboration between national and international partners, and collaboration among policymakers, knowledge partners, and the practice partners to turn over the page of next phase of education through digital platforms. That brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. He talked about the challenges and opportunities of e-learning in Nepal. I think it was a really informative presentation. Because we don't have a lot of time, we will move on to the second presentation right away.
So we have the two speakers and the second speakers and the third speakers. They will be presenting. And they are both from Colombia ICT Education Innovation Office. We have Jeronima, Sandino, who will give a presentation on STEM education and digital skills, which will be followed by Betty Bitrago's presentation on digital skills and STEM education in Colombia. Two speakers will examine current context of children education, basic education, secondary education in Colombia, along with ecosystem for educational innovation, and share insights on challenges of educational innovation and the role of EdTech. Jeronima Sandino, she's a specialist in educational innovation, inclusion, and knowledge management. And she has an extensive experience in the design, implementation, and direction of projects with high social, educational, and cultural impact in Latin America. And in case of Betty Bitrago, she has 19 years of experience in implementing IT-related projects regarding the educational innovation, knowledge management, and the pedagogical use of ICT. She has supported the design of policies of the Colombia Ministry of National Education to promote innovative educational practices. So we will be hearing the presentation from these two speakers.
Well, hello, thank you very much. Hello and afternoon there, and good morning here in Colombia. My name is Jeronima Sandino, and I am a consultant in the Ministry of Education of Colombia. My colleague Betty Bitrago and I work at the Educational Innovation Offices. We are so excited to be here with you and share our experience. In Colombia, the policies of educational innovation with the use of the digital technologies have focused on the generation of value for the resolution of problems and educational needs. For more than 20 years, the pedagogical use of ICT has been promoted to transform educational practices and favor the development of active learning methods. During the pandemic, ICTs played an important role since teachers and students had to make intensive use of digital technology to continue their teaching and learning process in an accelerated way. In this presentation, we will first show the context of the current situation of Colombia education. Secondly, we will address the educational innovation ecosystem promoted by the country with an emphasis on territorial capacities and the development of digital skills. And finally, the challenges in terms of design and implement the plan of digital technologies for education. Well, the cooperation of the government of South Korea has become a great opportunity for the construction of the master plan for digital technologies for education in Colombia through 5 dimensions: curriculum and educational practices, professional development, digital educational contents and services, ICT infrastructure, and territorial management. This collaboration work between the two nations has allowed us to learn about Korea's practices in the good processes in integrating digital technologies in education. The contribution of KERIS through the ICT Educational Technical Assistance Program has brought to our attention to need to design long-term strategies aiming at improving the development of digital skills and increasing access to information. Well, in Colombia, we have many challenges, but we have identified the three priority challenges at this time. The first one started during the pandemic and is necessary for the recovery and acceleration for the basic learning. The second is guarantee the complete educational trajectory thinking in a student's life project. And the third challenge is to develop new skills in students and teachers to deal the challenges of the digital transformation and the fourth industrial revolution. Well, according to the results to the PISA test, Colombia has a great learning challenges. For example, 35 of 100 children achieve level 2 or higher in the mathematics. 50 out of 100 children achieve level 2 or higher in the science, and the same happens in language. According to the World Bank, learning poverty could have gone from 53% to 70 or 75 due to the pandemic. And thinking in a global context, and thinking about the fourth industrial revolution, we mostly analyzed the learning challenges like this. 60% of children who are in primary school today will occupy jobs that do not exist. And 75% of future jobs that will be related to STEM. And 45% of current jobs that will be replaced by technology. As Richard really said, we are currently preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist, using technologies that haven't been invented in order to solve problems we don't even know are problems yet. And so, in this context, what are we doing in Colombia to promote the development of new skills? Well, we are trying to innovation, and innovation through the educational ecosystem, educational innovation ecosystem. We are building this educational innovations ecosystem. For the Ministry of National Education, the educational innovation is a process that is configured from the creation and appropriation of ideas, strategies, knowledge, methodologies, and products, which generate transformation in the dynamics of the educational communities and school culture according to the context, needs, diversity, and interest. It focuses on the comprehensive development of students and their life projects. Well, in the dimension of the capacities for educational innovation, the objective is to work with the different entities to the national government, such as with the territorial actors, private sector, social organization, among others. And when we talk about the learning for the future, we are talking about the different initiatives and projects for the development of the citizens for the 21st century. We also have Colombia Aprende platform for a digital content and services. There, the students and teachers can find resources, content, tools, and services for the teaching and learning. When we talk about the digital transformation, we refer to access, use, and appropriation for the digital technologies for the educational sector.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here to share the progress we have made in building the plan. Thanks to the Korean Assistance Program, I am Betty Buitrago and I am working at the Ministry of Education in Colombia. ¿Puedes devolverte? Our Master Plan of Digital Technologies in Education has the next vision. Our vision is the creation of a hybrid and sustainable learning ecosystem focused on the development of digital skills. And the policy is consolidate an ecosystem of educational innovation that integrates the use and appropriation of digital technologies to contribute to the education of quality in the schools from preschool, basic, and secondary levels. Next. Our plan has 5 domains. The first is curriculum and educational practices. The second one is the teacher professional development. The third one is digital contents and services. The fourth one is technological infrastructure. And the last is institutional and territorial management. In the curriculum and educational practices, we have proposed to develop digital competences in the learning process as a part of skills needed in the current century. The main lines are the first is implementing the new version of the curriculum guidelines to technology and computer area because Colombia has a new curriculum guidelines to this area in the last month, and we need to updating the study plans in the area. The second main line is building guidelines to use digital technologies in all disciplinary areas as history, math, science, and the third line consists of measuring of digital skills in students, especially particularly design instruments and tools, and implemented and perform analysis and dissemination of results. The fourth main line consists of digital talent roads for gifted students who with high digital competences, in particular in the last years in the school, 10 and 11 grades, to work on the subject in their educational projects. And go back, please. The last one is support to parents and caregivers to improve their digital skills. For this line, we consider it is necessary to design and develop a program to parents and caregivers from analyze international and national experiences. The next. In the second domain, teacher professional development, we have proposed improving the digital skills of teachers and educational administrators to support student success. The first main line is for pre-service teacher training. Here we are going to build and mobilize guidelines for faculties of education and teacher training college, and review and update the functions profiles and manuals to include the digital skills required by teachers from all areas in the selection process and connection to the teacher career. And for in-service teacher training, we are going to updating the framework of digital competences of teachers, design and developing teacher training programs, and particularly, we need to design and develop a program for technology and computer teachers. In the last line, we are going to promote the research and communities of practice through projects research projects and with an incentive plan for teachers and educational administrators.
Well, in the third dimension, we're talking about the digital and content and services. And here we are thinking availability for high quality, accessibility, secure, and easy to use digital content and services that facilitate self-learning, virtual and hybrid learning modalities. And the tasks for this are first, production and management of open digital educational resources. Second, a stretch educational platform Colombia Aprende. Third, following up with the appropriation of open digital educational resources in the pedagogical process. And fourth, quality management of open digital education resources for the teaching and learning. Our fourth dimension is technological infrastructure. And here we are provide digital infrastructure to enrich educational environments and stretching educational innovation processes. We want to distribution of educational devices. And second, establishing spaces for informatics. Third, guidelines for establishing educational networks. And fourth, establishing an educational administration and financial support system. The last dimension is an institutional and territorial management. Here, we are planning to strengthen administration and permanent evaluation of the integration and appropriation of digital technologies in institutional and territorial management. For that, we're thinking about the territorial plans for educational innovation to performance management of ICT projects in education and regulatory adjustments for the regulation of ICT in education.
Our challenge are developing skills oriented to the realization of the students' life projects. Second, is important for us technology-mediated teaching and learning transformation practices. And the last, financial allocation in order to development of the plan strategies. And one more is aligning the plan with the new government's priorities. In Colombia, has a new government in the last month, and we need to align the plan with the new government. These are our challenge. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
네. 발표 잘 들었습니다.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So both of you worked together to make the presentation. And there are also a lot of questions being raised in English. And if possible, we should be able to entertain some of the questions raised in the English channel. We are about to listen to the final presentation of TRACK-A4.
The last presenter is Ji-Yoon Jung, teacher at Gwangju Yo Elementary School. In his presentation titled Make Friends and Grow Together Through Digital Platform, he will talk about exchange cases between Gwangju Metropolitan Office of Education and Ministry of Education in Tanzania that have kicked off since 2021 as part of Education Impartation Exchange and Cooperation Program. Mr. Chung majored in computer education at Gwangju National University, and he has been working as an online learning support group at Gwangju Office of Education. He researched how to apply various EdTech to classes and has been providing guidance to teachers. And from 2020, he has been leading the Gwangju Lead Teacher Research Group, working for the development of ICT education in collaborative education countries.
네, 안녕하세요. 네,
Hello.
저는 광주 리드 연구회를 맡고 있는
I am the teacher at Gwangju Binyo Elementary School, and I have been leading the Gwangju Lead Teacher Research Group. I would like to explain to you about the lead. First, let me explain to you about the project. So we have been co-working with the Sri Lanka government since 2005, and each year we've been inviting 20 Sri Lanka teachers have been conducting training. We have been conducting the training about the software and ICT. And we have been providing support regarding the educational infrastructure, and the Gwangju teachers in Gwangju, they visited Sri Lanka and they took a look at the field and they participated in the professional training courses in Sri Lanka. So for past 15 years, we have been conducting this kind of projects, and many Sri Lanka teachers visited Gwangju for the projects, and then they looked at the software status of Gwangju, and it was a good cultural exchange program. And starting from 2021, we signed an agreement with Tanzania government, and we were engaged in the education informatization support project. And starting from 2018, we also participate in a project to support the establishment and operation of a pilot classroom, and this is still ongoing. So in order to better structure this project with the foreign government, we established Gwangju Lead Teacher Research Association. So there are currently 12 elementary school teachers and 8 middle school teachers, and they are working together and analyzing the educational curriculum, and they are developing ICT software, blended courses, and they are also developing a training courses for this area, and they are disseminating the best ICT practices and knowledge, and they're also conducting the mentoring services to the partner countries, and we are also providing infrastructure support related to education informatization. So in this education information, I was very fortunate to be involved in the project. However, we faced an obstacle. It was the COVID-19. And due to the COVID-19 that started in 2019, our teachers weren't able to visit Tanzania, and we couldn't invite the teachers in Tanzania to Korea. And to make the matters worse, our teachers didn't have experience visiting Tanzania, and they lacked knowledge about Tanzania as a result. So our teachers always had this question in their mind: what is the education needs in Tanzania? So with this in our mind, we conducted research together, and right before the outbreak of COVID-19, we had a site visit to Tanzania, the Ministry of Education, and then we took a look at those photos and the data, and then we started analyzing the educational environment in Tanzania. So if you look at the photo, it looks pretty clean, but when we look at listen to the officials of the Office of Education that made a visit to Tanzania, they told us that the educational environment in Tanzania is very poor. So we then began to consider more closely about what is really needed in Tanzania. We looked at the learner analysis result. Training direction demand survey. So it shows that the support is needed in all areas. So after looking at this, we designated the theme focusing on the ICT utilization. So the main topic is leveraging online tools in developing the training courses and editing it and sharing it. So it is focusing on improving the ability to do this. So based on this main topic, we developed a total of 11 courses.
코로나 19로 인해서
Due
초대를 할 수 없는 상황이
to
되었기 때문에
the pandemic, we couldn't invite the teachers to Korea, so we conducted the training online.
탄자니아의 시차도 있었고
There was
그곳의
the
인터넷
time
환경이
zone
원활하지
difference
못해서
between
저희가
Tanzania, and because of the internet connection issue, we made the training video and provided this to teachers. So we talked in Korean, then we put the English subtitles at the bottom, and we provided this to teachers in Tanzania. And we also share the cases of how they can use this in their classroom. And the video that were made like this, we uploaded this to Lead channel in YouTube so that teachers in other countries could also utilize it. Also, for the online training, we use the LMS system. The LMS system, we use the neighbor band. So in the neighbor band, we invited Tanzanian teachers, and then we informed them what the homework is, and then we also used it for Q&A purposes. However, we encountered another problem. The participation rate was too low. So we got a lot of encouragement to participate from the officials in the education office, but they didn't know how to participate in the classroom.
So in order to solve this problem, we realized that we had to have an engagement in real time, and we provided orientation, and we instructed the teachers on how to complete the assignments. And also, we actually promoted the K-Edu package, and it was very important to motivate the teachers. We also began our mentoring. One teacher from Gwangju Lead teamed up with 4 teachers from Tanzania, and we created a chat room in WhatsApp, and he was able to take questions about the training programs, and we also was able to maintain close cooperation with the Tanzanian teachers. And the Korean teachers also reviewed the action plans submitted by the Tanzanian teachers, and the feedback was provided through WhatsApp. In 2021, all 40 trainers were able to complete the course successfully. One teacher was able to create or wanted to create a website about the Tanzanian education thanks to the training programs, and we were able to identify one of the biggest problems. Even though we spent 1 year together, we lacked understanding about each other. So this year, we realized that it would be really important to get to know each other before we begin the training. So we began a project to make friends online. To do so, before we established the training program, we organized a meeting between the Ministry of Education Tanzania and the Gwangju city government officials, and we wanted to understand what's required for Tanzania education. We also collected feedback on last year's training, and we also wanted to understand what is required by Tanzanian teachers. And this year, we organized the orientation before the beginning of the training sessions. So we provide information on the training itself, but also we introduced a session to promote understanding about each other. In order to make a foreign friend, usually you learn the foreign language first. So we organized a session during the orientation to learn the Tanzanian language, and also the Tanzanian teachers learn the Korean language, and Tanzanian teachers got to learn how to write their names in Korean.
연수 시작 전에
At the
바로
same
구성을
time,
해서
we
실시하였습니다.
organized the mentoring sessions
단순히
before the
이때도
training.
연수에 관련된 내용만 질문하는 게 아니라
And the
평소에
participants
자주
asked
연락을
questions
하고
about the
또
training,
안부를
but
묻고
at the same time,
그래서 연수
it was
콘텐츠에
useful
대한
to maintain
지름자뿐만
close
아니라
contacts
서로
between the
일과 친해지는
mentors and
시간을
mentees.
마련했습니다.
And it was really helpful to
이렇게 날씨에
encourage
대해서도
all the
물어봤-
participants to
봤었습니다.
get to
올해
know
여름에
each
매우
other.
더웠을 때
This summer it
탄자니아는
was really
겨울이라는
hot,
사실을 또 알게
but
됐고요.
we learned
저희가
that it was
추석
winter
때
time
추석에
in
대해서도
Tanzania.
소개를 하면서
And during the Korean
탄자니아의
Thanksgiving
명절에 대해서
holiday,
시간이
we exchanged
있었습니다.
information about the
물론
holiday with the
모든,
Tanzanian participants.
소그룹 채팅방이 활성화된 건
Of
아니었습니다.
course, I have to admit
그래서,
that all the small groups were
전체
active
채팅방을
in
만들어서
this
전체
type of
채팅방에서 선생님들과
engagements and
대화를 하는
exchange,
시간을 또
but we also
가졌습니다.
created a
또
chat
밴드가
room
익숙하지 않은
inviting
선생님들을
all the
위해서
trainers
왓츠앱에서
and trainees.
이렇게
And because
연수에 대한
some
내용들을
trainers
안내도
and trainees
안내를
were
했었고요.
not
또
really
일상적인
familiar
대화나
with
또
band,
자신의
we
주변
created
학교
this open
풍경들,
chat room in
교실
WhatsApp.
모습 등을 또 공유하면서
And some
서로를 알아가는
trainees
친해지는
shared
시간들을 계속
how they
마련했습니다.
teach at their school. So
또
it
다른
really was
노력으로는
useful
이제 연수에서
to
배웠던
get to
내용들을
know
가지고
each other.
연습할 수
Based
있는
on
기회를 많이
the
드렸습니다.
lessons that we
이때도
learned,
마찬가지
we were also able to help the
서로의
trainees to
나라에 대한
practice what they
그런
have
것들을
learned.
소개하는 웹페이지를 만드는
And
활동을
there was an
실시했습니다.
activity to
구글
create a
사이트
website to
도구라는 것을
introduce
이용해서 먼저
your
한국에
culture.
대한 소개 페이지를
So
이렇게
we
만들었습니다.
created an introductory page
이것을
on
탄자니아
Korea.
선생님들께 보여드려서
And this was shared with the Tanzanian teachers. And because they were curious about Korea and Korean culture, and they were able to obtain some information on Korea.
사이트 도구를 이용해서
And using Google
탄자니아에 대한
Site,
소개 페이지를 만들어 달라고 요청을 드린 상태입니다.
Tanzanian teachers are creating a
채팅방이
web
활성화되면서
page on
채팅방에서
Tanzania.
각 나라에 대한 질문들이 많이
And
올라왔었는데요.
there were a lot of questions about each
채팅방에
other's
단점이
countries,
이렇게
but one
메시지가 올라가 버리면
downside
볼 수 없다는
of the
점이었습니다.
chats
그래서
is
패들렛을 이용해서
if you
먼저
miss
한국
the
교육과
conversation,
한국 교육에 대해서
you
궁금한
cannot
점들을
really catch up.
남겨달라고
So
했었습니다.
we decided to use Padlet
탄자니아
and wanted to
선생님께서
collect
한국에 대해서
questions
궁금한
about
것들을 써주시면은
Korea. So
한국에
these are the
계시는
questions raised by
교육의
Tanzanian
선생님께서
teachers
답변을
on Korea,
달아드렸습니다.
and the Gwangju teachers wrote their
이것을
answers to these
탄자니아
questions.
선생님들께서도
And the
웹페이지,
teachers
패들렛을
in
통해서
Tanzania
질문할 수
also
있는
utilized
패들렛을
Padlet,
만들어 주셨습니다.
and we were
이번에는
able to
한국
post
선생님들께서
questions
탄자니아 선생님이 만드신
on
패들렛
Tanzania.
속에서
So we
탄자니아
Korean
교육에
teachers
그리고
accessed
탄자니아에
the
궁금한
Tanzanian
것들을
Padlet
이렇게 글로
and
남겨주셨습니다.
posted questions about
그렇게 하니까
Tanzania and
탄자니아에
education
계시는
of
많은
Tanzania.
선생님들께서
A lot
또
of teachers from
적극적으로
Tanzania
답변을 달아주시는
also
모습을
actively
있었습니다.
put their answers to these questions raised by Korean teachers.
이러한 서로 친해지는 것을 통해서
So having this
목표는
close
바로 탄자니아
relationship
선생님들께서 그들 스스로
had one ultimate
연구회를
goal.
소식하는 것을
It is to
목표로 두고
encourage
있습니다.
them to organize
사실
their own
지금
research teams.
비대면으로 연수를 진행하고 있으며
The training is taking
이러한
place
연수를 통해서
without
이분들이
any contact,
지속적으로
and through this training,
발전하기 위해서는 그들 스스로의
if they want
연구회가
to
필요하다라고
improve
생각이
their
되었습니다.
own professional skills, they have to create their
이를
own
위해서
research
첫
organization
번째
or
단계로는
groups. So as a
한국
first
선생님들께서
stage or first
과제를
step,
제시해주고
Korean teachers give them an assignment,
수행을 하고
and then the
그리고 다시
Tanzanian
한국
teachers
선생님께서 이것들에 대해서
completes the
피드백을
task,
해주는
and then Korean
1단계를
teachers provide the
구성하였습니다.
feedback.
이 1단계는 지금 현재 연수 때
And step
진행이 되고
one
있는 상황입니다.
happens, and it is right now happening
네, 2단계는
in the training.
바로 탄자니아
In step
선생님들께서
2,
스스로 과제를
Tanzanian
만들고
teachers
수행을
create their
하고
own
그리고
assignments,
한국
and
선생님께서
they
피드백을 해주는
complete the assignment,
과정입니다.
and then they get the
사실
feedback from
2단계가
Korean teachers.
이루어질 수 있을까? 1단계 이후로
As of
넘어갈 수
now,
있을까?
we are
사실
not sure
걱정이
whether we'll
많이
be
됐었습니다.
able to advance to
어제
step 2.
왓츠에서
fortunately,
먼저 탄자니아
just
선생님들께서
yesterday,
저희에게 안부를 묻더라고요. 그래서 대화를 하는 도중에
Tanzanian
탄자니아
teachers
선생님들과
initiated
실시간으로
conversation
한번 만나보자
on
하는,
WhatsApp
약속이 잡혔습니다.
and suggested an online meeting.
탄자니아 선생님들께
And
그러면은 어떤 걸 가지고 한번
we
같이
asked
만나서
them
이야기를 해볼까요?
what will
라고
be
이야기를
the topics
하니,
for the meeting.
선생님들께서
And they
자기들이
said,
같은 학교에 있다 보니까
since they are
어떤
working in the
주제로
same
가지고
school,
같이 이야기를 나눌지를 본인들이 한번 회의를 통해서
They will
알아보겠다고
decide,
했습니다.
after having internal
이를
discussions,
통해서 생각보다
on a
인턴기가
topic
빨리
for the
시작이
upcoming
되는구나라는 걸
discussion. So
느꼈습니다.
I believe that step 2 will be realized sooner than
과제를,
we have
주제를
anticipated.
선정하고 있고요.
So the Tanzanian
그에 따라서
teachers
저희
as of
한국
now are working on the
실시간으로
topics or the
만나서
assignments that they
피드백을
will
해줄
work on,
생각입니다.
and later we'll be able to, or we
그리고
should
마지막으로는,
provide feedback on their
마지막 단계는
assignments. And in
탄자니아
the last
선생님들
step
스스로
3,
과제를
the Tanzanian
만들고
teachers will
수행하고
create their
또
own
그들
assignment,
스스로
so they will
탄자니아
complete the
스스로
assessment
서로를
and they will give
피드백해
each
주면서
other the
더욱더
feedback
발전해 나가기를
so that they can
목표로 하고
improve their
있습니다.
skills on their own.
네, 이러한 과정들은 모두 디지털을 통해 디지털 플랫폼을
We
통해서
tapped
더욱
into digital
친해지는 활동을
platforms
통해
as
이렇게 만들어갈
we
예정입니다.
have a closer engagement with each other. And utilizing these digital platforms, we became friends with Tanzanian teachers, and it will be really useful to help improve the professional skills of Tanzanian teachers, and it will be also useful to improve the professional skills of Korean teachers in Gwangju. I look forward to your continued interest and support for this program. Thank you very much. Thank you. That was Jung Ji-hoon from Bigyeol Elementary School in Gwangju. So since 2021, the Education Office in Gwangju has been conducting this project with Tanzania, which was really impressive. I hope that sooner than later you'll be able to meet in person with the Tanzanian teachers, but so far they've been engaging with each other through online platforms. So thank you very much for your presentation. So we've listened to all 4 presentations for this session, and I was once again able to feel the enthusiasm of the participants. And we have about 15 minutes for a Q&A session, but before that, I'll read some of the cheering messages online. I was really happy to read this message online, but I'd like to really share with you. So it was really useful that this session covered situations of different countries, and thank you really for organizing this useful forum. And also there was an appreciation expressed about my work and contribution for this forum. And it will be really useful for me to perform my task as an MC for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. So the participants are quite attentive all day, and they're asking a lot of good questions. Of course, we had some technical problems today, but I'm sure that the forums tomorrow and the day after tomorrow will be a smooth one. As was mentioned by teacher Jung Ji-hoon just now, of course, even though there are a lot of difficulties, a lot of efforts are being made in order to narrow the technological gap. And a lot of impressive work has been made by the Korean teachers, and it was really impressive to learn that they have been doing this for many years so far. So thank you very much for your kind message. And also a lot of cheering for the ICT education in Nepal, and we hope to see more improvements coming in Nepal in the usage of ICT technologies for education. Now let us move on to a Q&A session. Min Sung-jang wrote in the chat room, so when I visited Pokhara, so it was a remote area and only face-to-face education can be delivered, and I'd like to understand how classrooms were organized during the COVID-19 pandemic. So Dr. Dhungana, did you get the question?
Yes, I got. In response to her question, what I answer her that we were unable to conduct the direct class during COVID-19. That's why we arranged online sessions, and sometimes we sent teachers to their homes. We continued their learning in this way. It was a difficult time. We could not conduct the direct class.
Okay, so thank you for your answer. 자, 다음 질문은 콜롬비아 쪽으로
Next question is to the speaker from Colombia.
들어온 질문입니다. 이 발표 내용, 이 제목을 보시고 미리 질문을 주신 분들이 계신데요.
These questions came in earlier.
님, the master plan of digital technologies for education in Colombia has 5 strategic dimensions. How are these dimensions going to be measured to check how the plan has accomplished the goal proposed by the Colombian government?
Well, right now we are working in the design of the plan, and the implementation will be in the next year. So we are working in all the dimensions, and we want to work until we have to work with the KERIS and make all of the designs. And we need to adapt our currently monitoring and evaluation model to integrate the indicators we have building for the plan. So the plan is building right now, and we are working with the KERIS in this area. I don't know if Betty wants to say something else.
Okay, thank you very much. 다음 역시 네팔 Dr.
Okay, next question is to Nepal. Dhungana.
INF Jack 님께서 질문해 주셨습니다.
It's from IF name Jem.
I learned that in 2015 you got a doctoral degree in special education in Korea. What made you choose Korea, and how much Korea's education has developed and innovated since then? 네.
Could you repeat the question again?
His name is Jack. INF Jack.
Could you repeat the question again?
Okay, the question is,
yes,
so
very well.
This is the question from Jack, INF Jack, one of our participants, of course. Dr. Dhungana, I learned that in 2015, you got a doctoral degree in special education in Korea, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, right.
And what made you choose Korea? And how much Korea's education has developed and innovated since 2015?
It was an interesting question. One of my friends who knows me very well is asking this question. Yes, I am graduated from the Changwon National University, Changwon. My major subject was Thuksokheyu, special education. And I'm here working to develop the special education sector. Yeah, currently I'm working in curriculum development center, focusing to the children with special needs. It was really challenging those students who were disabled during COVID-19. That's why we are also, I'm also involving in the national program. Thank you for this question.
Thank you very much for your answer. 역시나 이번 세션에도 많은 분들이 관심을
So
보여주고 계십니다.
I was able to see a high level of interest from the participants' questions. Another question.
오늘 정말 열정적으로 참여해주고
So thank you very much for your active participation. And maybe we have already selected some participants to give out the gifts. So I understand that Mr. Jang, you've witnessed a lot of education practices in other countries. And what do you think are some of the strengths and weaknesses of the Korean education? Maybe all the presenters can answer this question. What are some of the important characteristics of Korean education? Maybe it could be described as highly passionate. Mr. Jang, what do you think are some of the strengths and weaknesses of Korean education?
강점은 이제
So speaking of some of the strengths, I think more than anything else, we have really good education infrastructure established. Of course, because we are providing support for less developed countries, and of course, compared to some highly advanced countries, we do have highly advanced education-related infrastructure, providing really favorable environment for Korean teachers to do what they have to do. And we also understand that Korean teachers are really passionate and they are really quick learners. When COVID-19 broke out, a lot of people said that we are going to have a major crisis, but Korean teachers moved quickly and was able to respond quickly. But one of the weaknesses may be Korean teachers are not really too open about what they can do, about their capabilities and skills, and they tend to underestimate their capabilities.
Okay, looks like a weakness, but actually you are saying that the teachers are hiding strong potential within them. Okay, we have really responded swiftly. So 2 years ago, in the outbreak of COVID-19, we had a lot of discussion about how we can overcome this crisis. And last year, we were talking about how we didn't imagine that we will be able to overcome this crisis so quickly. So don't hide your capabilities, don't hide your skills. Let's share our expertise together so that we can improve, continue to improve. So I would like to ask the speakers from overseas, what does Dr. Dhungana, would you share how the people in your country view the education in Korea?
Okay, that is also an interesting question. Korea is our friend, and thousands of students from Nepal are studying in Korea in these days. Nepali people think that Korea is advanced in technology and newly developed country. That's why the Nepali students are really interested to study in Korea. That is their feelings. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, so Ms. Sandino, would you please?
Thank you. Well, I'm agree with the doctor, and we are thinking about the question, but right now we are learning about the Korea's practices. So we think is a very good process to integrate the digital technology in education, and for us that is so very, very, very important. And we are learning everything about the Korean educational system. So we want to know more, and that back to the Colombian educational system.
좋은 말씀 많이 해주신 것, 칭찬만 많이 해주신 것 같습니다.
A lot of compliments.
부탁드릴게요.
But I would like to ask one more to VT Iago.
No more. I know less the education in Korea, but I think Korea is a great reference for the world in education, and use ICT in the system education is our reference for us. Thanks.
감사합니다. 거의 마지막 멘트처럼
Thank you very much.
들은 것 같습니다. 한국 교육
So once again, thank you all for your encouraging remarks and assessments about Korea. I think you shared only positive things about Korea, and once again, thank you very much for your kind interest. We have about 2 to 3 minutes. Maybe I'll use that time to share with you some of the comments. And we have to understand how to use online tools. And I think from the Tanzania case, it was really useful to help them understand how they can use online tools. And Chongyun Choi wrote that comment on the YouTube channel's chat box. And Hello Kabot also wrote that we now realize and learn that the Nepal is learning from Korea in the utilization of ICT tools. And also it is really important to understand the students' progress. So thank you very much for your comment about the discussions. And Lucky also wrote, not just the government, but the private sector has to participate aggressively in order to promote e-learning. Of course, there are some policies that the government can implement, but at the same time, it is really critical to have the participation of the private sector players. Only then we'll be able to create a virtuous cycle to promote e-learning. So we entertained some of the questions raised by participants about the presentations. So once again, Mr. Chang and 3 speakers from overseas, thank you very much for your participation in this session. So again, we were able to have in-depth discussions thanks to your active participation. And we had discussions on the ODA e-learning globalization project, and we really had meaningful discussions. So that wraps up TRACK-A4. So the time is almost up for this session. It was already notified. We are now going to take a 10-minute break and move on to the keynote speech. So please stay with us for the upcoming keynote presentation. The keynote presenter will join us in real time. And once again, thank you very much for your kind understanding. So I'll see you again in 10 minutes.